Mr. Thiagarajan, one very disturbing thing is that there's just no credibility now in any institution. So whether it's the RBI, whether it's Parliament, whether it's judiciary, whether it's media. So actually, you just don't know what to trust. You don't know which narrative to trust. The RBI, we recently had a ruling on the demonetization, where it's very clear that the RBI did not know about things, and then the judiciary ruled in the government's favor. And now you're saying that the RBI's assessment of the state's, finances is not reliable and it's a political move. That itself is a massive crisis. You cannot even trust the RBI statements on the finances of the nation. Who do you trust? And they picked West Bengal, they picked Kerala, they picked Rajasthan and Bihar. So it's quite and they said that Kerala borrowed but did not spend on any infrastructure or any profit-making enterprise, but that it's been going into paying for salaries and revenue and XYZ. So are you telling us the RBI is not to be trusted?
No. And let me be a little more generous towards RBI. It's not RBI statement. RBI publishes a journal. In the journal, an article is published, making these statements. But then there is some PR work going on. Immediately the press jump on it, and the big headlines in Kerala and outside. Kerala is a debt burden, has gone beyond all limits and so on. So if you ask RBI, did you say that? RBI said you didn't say that. But so I'll be a little more generous. Still, despite what they did, the demonetization, they had no choice here. Here is a government who breaking all the laws, just calling up RBI governor saying, give us a note. In fact, that is the statement that RBI gave to the Supreme Court. As per the advice of central government, he gave this clean chit to them to demonetization. The problem with the Supreme Court reads all this and says, look, they have given. But they were given under duress here. It is in the statement. So it's the Supreme Court which is at fault in here.
Do you agree, that the central banks are behaving like political agents? Would you go that far? And secondly, we brought up this interstate tension as well. How do you think that can be resolved? We are, after all, a nation as well. Does Tamil Nadu not want to anymore subsidize Bihar's development? How would you resolve this growing tension in the country?
Let me take the easy one first. I think all over the world, central bankers have started acting like politicians in their head. Right? It used to be that they were the ones who contained profligacy. They were the ones who were willing to take the hard decisions. And politicians were kind of loose fiscal policy and crowd-pleasing and vote-getting. It used to be. But if you look at what has happened in Japan after the 1990s and in the rest of the developed world after 2008, most central bankers act as if they are politicians. They don't want to be blamed for any potential crisis. Should an act of tightening or removal of quantitative easing or removal of excess liquidity, which is obscenely high, like $8 trillion of excess liquidity in the system now. So should they try and bring that down and anything happen, they don't want to be accused of being the villains. So overall, I would say globally, the role of central banks and of monetary policy, and therefore the image of central bankers, has taken a pretty severe beating. They are nowhere near the caliber of people they used to be. That's issue one. Issue two, clearly there's a strong correlation between strong, independent institutions, good economic growth, and great progress in society. That is undeniable. It was not very clear which was the chicken and which was the egg. Is it that developed economies in the course of development strengthen institutions? Or is it that strong democracies and vibrant institutions with independence facilitate better growth? This was not quite clear. But now it has become very clear that any country, any society, any economy that doesn't have strong independent institutions that can provide checks and balances and therefore increase the likelihood of a level playing field cannot see ideal growth and ideal progress, right? So the more you have nepotism, oligarchy, oligopoly, insider dealing, and weak institutions that kowtow to the powers that be, like we have now, we are doomed to have less than our potential growth. This is not debatable by any reasonable person. The issue of money is a bit more complex. In any federal society, in every federal society, there will be better offs and not so well offs. In every federal society, there will be transfer of money from those that are better off to those that are not well off. Perfectly normal, logical. We are all citizens of one country. We in Tamil Nadu are very happy to see our brethren in UP or Bihar progress and become more like us in their access to education, to healthcare, to jobs, to growth. Where we have a problem and where India has a unique problem is that at least the last 25 to 30 years of transfers through the finance commissions have been utter failures in achieving any sort of equality. Let me give that in a Tamil Nadu context. At one point we were 7.5% of the population, 7.5% of the economy, and our share of the central taxes devolved was 7.5. Whatever share that was, it was only 32% or something of the total, or 25, but of that we got 7.5 in the horizontal split between states. Now in the 15th Finance Commission, we are about 6% of the population, we are north of 10% of the economy, and we get a devolution of 4% of taxes. That means we have continued to get better and better and better relative to the average and relative to the poorer states. So what I wrote in my submission on behalf of the DMK when we were in opposition to the 15th Finance Commission, I said, if you say your goals are transparency, efficiency and effectiveness, transparency we can all agree, tell us the formula, it works. But in both efficiency and effectiveness, you have been miserable failures for the last 25 years. Because the amount of net transfer keeps on increasing. In every other society, in China, in the US, in the European Union, such transfers will bring a closing of the gap, will bring greater parity, will reduce inequality. But in India, 25 years of such transfers have not achieved any reduction in inequality, have not stabilized the inequality, have not just allowed the inequality to grow, but have accelerated the inequalities. That means utter failure. All your transfer of funds is producing no equalization at all. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Faster than last time, it's getting worse now. What is the point of transfers? It's like throwing money into a well if you don't get equality. So I worried at the time, and I worry now, that if this trend continues, you're going to find states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, who contribute, let's say 1 rupee, and get back 5 paise, 3 paise, 8 paise. At some point, people are going to ask, how does this make sense? That we keep on transferring funds and we keep on getting bad outcomes. And at least in my opinion, what I wrote to the 15th Finance Commission, at the core of it is that Tamil Nadu and South India did something right that North India has not done, which is focus on social justice, focus on empowerment of women, focus on education for all, and focus on increasing the nutrition and the health of all children so you get better productivity. And if you don't do that, everything else is worthless. How much ever money you give, if half the population is not empowered, if the girls are not in school, if they are not given menstrual health support so they can continue in school, they are going to marry early, they are going to drop out of school, they are going to have underweight or weak children. Those children are not going to have access to a proper future. You are in a vicious cycle. So the finance commissions have been rewarding all the wrong things. They reward your deficit, they reward your gap to potential. They don't reward how many women are now in school compared to 5 years ago. How girls are in school, right? So they reward the wrong things and therefore they get the wrong outcomes. It's not rocket science, right?
So actually, if at all we were going to tie money up with outcomes, then they should be tying it up with social outcomes, same thing UP, Bengal, and
Because right now they tie it on outcomes that you can't judge for 5 years later. I said you should tie it on interim outcomes. What is the increase in the percentage of girls at 15 enrolled in school this year compared to last year? Next year compared to this year? Change the allocation ratios based on that. Now you're tying, now you're aligning incentives. Right?
So again, just to share one quick thing before we move to a slightly more political conversation, because obviously data can fly over everyone's heads, is that, when Mr. Thiagarajan was saying about this discrepancy, one really stark statistic caught my eye, which is that over the last, 50 odd years, Tamil Nadu's population growth has grown by 76%, Kerala's by 55%, and Uttar Pradesh and all the Bihar states, Bihar and elsewhere, has gone up by 144 to 166%. That's the gaps that we're talking about, and these are really, really shocking gaps. So, Nilakandan, RS had this very provocative book, which was the South versus the North. And he was talking now of a divide, which is South versus North. So before we move into a slightly more political discussion of what the center-state tensions are, do you think that that's a valid sort of division line growing in the country?
Well, there is a very dramatic difference in the social and economic growth between, say, Hindi heartland and southern states. Now, exact root and factors involved may be very different. Kerala, it has been more historical and class-based movements, while in Tamil Nadu it has been, came little later, but through Dravidian mobilization. Other states have their own social movements and so on, which resulted in certain policies which encourage education, healthcare, and promoted growth, while it didn't happen in the North Indian states. Even in the North Indian states where they broke the economic growth barrier, like in, say, Gujarat, still despite the whole, a good economic performance, it has not been transferred to the ordinary people. Say Gujarat and Kerala, they have, both states have, yeah.
We've already gone over this. We know that there is massive gaps.
Yeah.
But is there a political difference, cultural difference? Is
Yes.
there capital difference?
One, for example, Government of India is contemplating to changing the electoral basis on the basis of 2011 population. Do you know what will be the result of that? The southern states, which conform to the national policy of population and reduce the rate of growth of population, their numbers in the parliament are going to drastically go down. On the hand of UP and so on, further rise. And this is breaking the promise made in the parliament that when the population policy was adopted, that because the states which are doing better won't be penalized, therefore we'll keep to always 1971 population. So they changed it in the devolution, and we made a big racket of that when the 15th Finance Commission came. Now they want to make it a political agenda also, you see. It's quite purposefully done, you see. And that may create certain kind of north-south divide, which is undesirable for strengthening the nation.
Yeah, but this political representation going down for the states that are doing well is even more explosive than just an unfair division of money. So you're saying that we're well, this with the 15th Finance Commission basing it now on the population census of 2011, you're saying that even political representation is going to change.
Okay, so this issue was raised by southern states particularly, irrespective of politics. Even ADMK, they didn't come to meet the president and so on, but they were all in the meeting speaking very strongly. So government of India had to backtrack from the position that they will not be giving revenue deficit grant. Because suppose Kerala's devolution comes down, our deficit will rise. And finally they agreed. Prime Minister had to come to Chennai and make a statement that we will give you some special compensation. I don't know how it has been done or not. But Dr. Thiagarajan, you have been speaking about Finance Commission devolution. What about planning, plan fund? See, it's a few lakh crores of rupees, which used to be handled by the Planning Commission, distributed among the states on Gadgil formula. Now, purely arbitrarily distributed by the finance minister. Come election in Gujarat, the Prime Minister goes and makes a big package. Or UP election, another big package. No package for Tamil Nadu, no package for Kerala, no package for the opposition states. So the entire plan fund, which used to be some 30% of the budget, that is entirely arbitrarily distributed by the finance minister, and she very graciously distributed 1 lakh crores in proportion to the population as capital grant. Joke.
So, I think we just touched on all the learning topics. We have to open this up to the audience now. Mr. Thiagarajan, I'd just like you to move away from the financial discussion and come to maybe two other things about this bring up of the spirit that, is really worrying you. What would you point out? For instance, I would make this statement by the Rajya Sabha chairman that the basic structure of the constitution is not something necessarily that he abides by. That's like opening up a Pandora's box. So you've been bringing up the GST, the way the GST is being done. You've been so fascinated with the way money is being divided. Just to end the session on, would you pick on one or two more things that are worrying you, or is there anything worrying you?
Endless list of things that worry me. But in my day job, I should focus on things that are more in my control. Right? So there's a lot we can do within the state. There's a lot of things that can be done better about the GST. In fact, in the next couple of months, I'm going to suggest some operational reforms that I think can greatly enhance the efficiency and truly kind of participative nature of the GST. Right now, a bunch of civil servants in Delhi effectively run the GST. We think we have some say, but we don't. Really, it's a bunch of IAS and IRS officers who are running the GST almost to their whims and fancies under the design we have now. That can be changed. That's not a constitutional amendment, that's an operational design. But I think, the more profound questions, I don't know how to reconcile random, irresponsible statements coming from people of great authority and offices that ought to have dignity. Whether it is the governor of Tamil Nadu or Kerala, or the one-time governor of West Bengal, who is now the vice president and head of the Rajya Sabha. These are all like off-the-cuff, inane, kind of thoughtless, what can I say? Uncultured. Yeah, they're more than irresponsible. They're uncultured. They're like random noise, without any dignity or decorum. So I don't have the time to worry about all those things. I mean, it disappoints me as a citizen. It's a bit degrading to the nature of our democracy and our republic. But I can't control who all say what all. It's not there.
So, okay, I'm going to open this up. As I said, our host wanted us to discuss fiscal federalism, so we stuck to the money conversation. But there are many other contentious issues, about political interference, about language, culture, just an erosion of that spirit of diversity that we all take for granted about India. But definitely money is a big part of that because it controls our lives in many ways. So both Minister and former Minister have elucidated on that, and I'll open it up for the audience.
Good evening, panel. There is a news that RBI is looking to release central bank issued digital currency. Will that impact on the current financial independence, or will it tie the hands of states even more? That is one question. And the second question is, there is a sarcastic comment that the south states are surviving on liquor, selling of liquor. The financial is mostly based on selling of liquor. But if you see the north states, there are more consumption of drugs, which is contributing to more of the black money sector. So how is this even being compared? Comment on that.
I'll point your first question to Mr. Thiagarajan, that is the introduction of the digital currency going to be a bigger threat?
No, I can't yet contemplate the full ramifications of a government-issued digital currency. I'm not sure how it will play out, but I don't see any major difference in the state-to-union relationship or the states' rights. I mean, the rupee notes are now printed by the RBI. What does it matter to me if they issue digital currency? On the second issue, I will say that though the caricature of alcohol being the fuel and all that persists, the reality is that I'm not even sure that alcohol is a net revenue generator to the government of Tamil Nadu. We make, 20,000-30,000 crores because we can trace it to sales.
Yes.
In fact, I have been on record saying that at least historically there is a very clear evidence that a lot of stuff is being sold off the books, so to speak. So first of all, that might not be the wrong, revenue. But the costs of this alcoholism come in so many subtle and hidden ways. I mean, not everything is alcoholism, but there is significant alcoholism that arises out of this. And the social costs of absenteeism, of domestic abuse, of lost productivity, of the health ramifications, of crime, all of those things that are fueled by this consumption, we don't know. So my own view, there are 100 ways we can raise revenue without this. That's not the issue. The core issues are two. First, should you ban alcohol, and is it viable to do so, both morally and practically? Most parts of the world don't do that. If you do it, can you do it in your state and the neighboring states still sell? And, there are anecdotes, I don't have first-hand experience, that in dry states like Gujarat, you can actually buy what you want if you're well off enough, right? So, yes. Whether it's practical and efficient to ban it, and what are the second-order consequences? Will you find a lot of illegal distilling and blindness and deaths and all that you used to see in the past? That's the first question. Second question is, should you tax these heavily? And I think that all over the world, what you consider to be less than desirable goods to society, whether it's tobacco, alcohol, or any of these things, all over the world you tax them heavily because you get a win-win. Either you raise the net price to the consumer so much that some of them curtail their spending and consumption, in which case you get a bunch of second-order social benefits, or they still go ahead and consume anyway, in which case you get some revenue from it to offset the costs that you're seeing or you're going to see in all these other variables like health costs and all that. So I don't think there's any debate left that should you sell alcohol or should you allow the sale of alcohol or tobacco or any of those things, that you should tax them very heavily.
Yes, sir. Debate, right? Because in north, certain states that claim to be dry state, the illegal consumption of drugs have increased. So this says...
that's my point.
We will take the mic so someone else gets to ask a question.
Regarding the digital currency, I think you should distinguish it from the cryptocurrency. The digital currency, the currency issuer government continues to control the currency. So it is only a natural part of the evolution of money, which used to be metal, then banknotes and so on. So it's something inevitable. But crypto is something very different. Okay? Crypto, earlier everybody thought would have no effect, but now you find Even a world financial crisis could have been started with a collapse of the cryptos. So digital is not going to have that kind of spin-offs and effects. Regarding alcohol, well, take the case of Kerala. Okay, you have the COVID years. Virtually there was an effective ban. And so when we emerge from COVID, what is Kerala like now? Look, all these artificial stimulants, NDMs and so on, their spread has become so prevalent. It's become a serious social issue here. So it would be always be responsible drinking. Okay, that's something has could become part of the culture. So how and then so on, I don't know. I'm an economist, not a sociologist.
So my question will be very short. So it's to both of you. So generally public expects a lot from politicians when they are important ministers like finance ministers. So I have to ask the question, what do politicians, especially finance ministers, expect from the youth? What should the youth of Kerala and Tamil Nadu do to match your vision and aim? So what do you expect from us? So that's the question.
You actually stumped them. I don't think they've ever had the luxury of this session.
Really, when I came for this conversation, I was thinking moderator is going to lead us into Kerala model and Tamil Nadu model.
You know, I think
Dravidian model and Kerala model. See, important thing is to realize that these two states are the most advanced in terms of social welfare. And Tamil Nadu has taken a different route from Kerala. In the sense, Kerala has a much historical, a long period through which this has been achieved, while Tamil Nadu, on the base of much higher economic achievement, took to state policy which redistributed health, education and so on. So
the first question is, what can the youth do to live up to your vision? I don't think you have thought of that.
youth should study our traditions.
Sorry.
Our traditions. And these traditions are being challenged here. Challenged very seriously at the national level. One, the kind of redistributive policies are rejected, and more so the social policies. Inclusive social development for all castes and all classes are brought in. That is being rejected. Therefore, I would say you should study the path we have traversed and learn lessons and stand firm, resist this onslaught on our democratic traditions.
Yeah, I'll heartily echo that. But I would add one more thing. You know, even the best government, the best administrators, the best policies can only do so much. Partly because of my old job, partly in my new role, I've traveled very extensively around the world. And I would say the defining feature of the most livable countries and societies is a general attitude towards adherence to the law, to regulation, to societal norms, and everybody benefits from, you know, something as simple as traffic laws or zoning regulations or sustainable agriculture and fishing quotas and constraints. So the extent to which members of society conform to the optimizing policy or regulation or constraint, that really is the deciding factor of a great place to live, a great quality of life, a great economic outcome, a compassionate society, a welfare state, all of those, if you look around the world, Australia or Scandinavia, some parts of Western Europe, Singapore, you look at all these places where you have really high quality of life, to some extent Canada, and you find that those are the kind of societal norms that make the difference. Of course, strong institutions are a means. Of course, good governance is a means. Of course, commodities or good fiscal policies of the government, wealth are means. But the crucial factor is the attitude of the people. And so I think, for young people, it's really to aspire to that kind of society. Why should you live and lead a life any less than the best quality in the world? It's your right. We're all born equal. I want my fellow citizens in UP and Bihar to have the life that my citizens in Tamil Nadu have. I don't begrudge them the money. I begrudge the system that denies them development. But I want to have a more equitable, socially just, inclusive society. And that far the policy of the government can take you. Above that, the attitude of the people will determine the outcome, and the youth will be, the future trajectory of that. All people will not change. The youth can drive change.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas Isaac and Mr. Thiagarajan. I just want to use the moderator's prerogative to add one more thing to that, which is that, when we talk about our democracy, it's something so fantastic, brilliant, unprecedented in the history of the world that I think, Mr. Thiagarajan is quite a rebellious finance minister. He's always raising his voice, not living by the norms of the day. So I would say that, as he said, that to keep that spirit of democracy, questioning and diversity alive is the biggest thing that any young Indian can do today or in the years to come. And I hope you guys do that. So thank you very much. Thank you.